SwissWatchExpo, a little bit of how-to on Panerais here. We have a few questions. One is how to adjust the clasp on these particular items. In other words, how do the pushers work on these watches? So in the older models, there's two different generations of the clasp from Panerai. The one generation actually is pretty difficult to get the pushers to allow this piece here to spring open if you just push one side. One generation had these pushers where if you pushed one side, they would come apart. They would do it pretty easily. So they updated the spring type movement in these. So on this particular clasp, they have little spring pins here at the end of the bracelet clasp, and those actually push in from both sides. And this particular clasp has the pushers that are free floating from the outside. So the one generation of these has springs where these two pushers here, when you push on them, regardless of whether the bracelet is closed or open, these will spring back into place. That was a revised design to this generation here that I've got in my hand, where they now adjust the clasp where they push on the inner spring. So what happens with these clasps are, no matter which version you have, these little pushers can get a little dirty. They can hold, they can stick, and in here near this spring they can hold and they can stick. So you may not get a full positive click when you close them. Now, these are simple adjustments. They can be cleaned usually, generally, and they'll go back to their normal functioning position. Now, as you wear them over time and you get certain dirt, oils, things like that in it, they may not hold quite as well. So you'll notice that this pops open a little bit more. So that's one version of the Luminor Marina with the metal bracelet, but also remember that with Panerais, these clasps also fit with the leather straps as well. So you can have the leather strap and interchange it with the inner bracelet clasp. So do remember that. Now, one other thing about this particular watch. This is and happens to be the in-house movement of the Luminor GMT. The only reason that I want to show you this watch is because I want to make sure that you understand when you wind this watch, you open the crown, and in that position, that's the winding position. Now, because of this crown guard that's in place, it's a trademark piece and it's exclusive to Panerai, of course. When you turn that crown, you may only see one half to 3/4 of a turn if you're lucky on that crown. That crown needs to spin around all the way at least one full time per hour of power reserve. So you want to wind this watch as it has. This is an in-house movement version of the Panerai, so you're going to get anywhere from 46 to 50 hours on power reserve on this watch. You want to make sure that you wind this watch a good solid 50 times. So what you see me doing right now, I'm doing this 50 times. And I'm not literally going to do it for the video, but you get the idea. Reason being, you want to make sure that you're turning that crown at least one full turn. That will set the power reserve up for good measure. Now, simply swinging this watch back and forth is not enough to keep the watch wound. It will see movement and high activity throughout the day. It may regenerate the power, but if you lay this watch down over the evening, you will notice that that power reserve will be depleting over time. That's why we always tell everybody, no matter which watch company, which watch you have, it's an automatic watch, wind it manually at least every 1.5 to 2 weeks. And again, the same thing sets for the watch. So when you open the crown guard, you will then pull 1 click, 2 clicks, first click being I'll show you the GMT setting. So we'll open it. Everything resets. Now, if you'll notice, the seconds hand is hacking. So you see the seconds hand moving. And as soon as I go to set the watch, it zeroes out. It's a really neat feature from Panerai. See that? There's not anything wrong with the watch. That's the way it's supposed to do. And that seconds hand will not start moving until you set all the functions and time correctly. That's so that you can zero your time out precisely whenever you need to make an adjustment to your time. That's a really cool feature. Now, as I've always told people, you want to make sure that you run that hand down the bottom half of the dial before you set it. You can see that the GMT hand indicates that we're probably in the evening hours, because right now it's pointing at the, see, that's going to be 1900 hours, which is 7 o'clock in the GMT zone. 20 is 8 o'clock. So by the time that hand here gets to here, it's midnight. So when it moves up, it's the 24-hour marker is going to be midnight, meaning that this hand is most likely showing that it's an evening as well. So if I move that hour hand past the 12, the GMT hand is going to move, as well as the center hand. Now everything's lined up. You're starting to see that date change. Now you've noticed the date has completely changed. Okay, fantastic. Now, here's what we're going to show you on how the rest of the watch sets. So unlike other watches, I'm going to pull this out. You are going to set the time this way. You see that? That's your local time. So first you'll set, first you'll set your GMT time. So let's say you want to monitor, and let's say it's 1400 hours or 2 o'clock, where your first monitoring world time is. And then you want to set your local time. Well, now we're going to set the hour hand to local. Now, if you'll notice, you can set this for AM and PM. So as you move this around the dial, you'll notice, see the date change? Date change. That's how you change the date, but monitor the second time zone, but also how you quickly set the time zone where you're going. So in other words, if it's 2 o'clock at your home time, 1400 hours at your home time, wherever you're going, no matter where you are in the world, you can move your hour hand to represent your local time. You see that? And that's how you set your Panerai Luminor GMT movement. Now, again, this happens to have the in-house movement. You can tell because it's got the clear case back, and you can see the in-house movement. But the GMT set's relatively the same for all model years. This is a great watch. This is one of my a real favorite in the Luminor lineup. SwissWatchExpo. If you have any questions, give us a call.